What's up, everybody? Circus here, coming at you with another auto dueling deck video. I like doing these just because I like to use all the cards in the game. A lot of times you don't get to do that, right? You get all these cards, and you don't know what to do with them. So the Turbo Duel event is going on right now, and there's a couple cards that I wanted to work with. Tomato and a Tomato and Tomato King. So I try to do as many plants in this deck as I could, but you can see obviously there's one in there that is not a plant, but it starts with a P, so that's close enough, right? But let's go over what we have here. We have Tomato and a Tomato. It's great. It's a level 3, and when it's summoned, you can special summon another Tomato and Tomato from your hand or deck. But the drawback to it is you can only X these into plant-type monsters, okay? Which is kind of a limitation. There's not a lot of plant-type monsters in the game, especially rank 3s. We're playing Tomato King. There is another one. It's not that great. You just detach material, then you can burn for how many... You get burn damage for how many cards your opponent has in their hand. It's not worth playing. World Careweight Champions in here. It's great. The computer actually does really well with this effect. I was kind of surprised by it. It knows when to send things off and summon from the grave. But basically, if it's in the grave, you can send a plant-type monster from your hand or the field to the grave and then summon out the Careweight Champion. The computer actually plays this one really well. I'm surprised. So there's the Psychic Tracker. This is the one non-plant in here, but nothing really beats the fact that you can just special summon this out if you have another level 3 on the field, and it's great. And then if you synchro summon with it, the monster that you synchro into gains a 600 attack. So that comes in clutch here, and I'll show you in a second. And then we got the Neteria Rose Whip, which is the tuner, which is a plant tuner, so that's great. So we can go into a few synchro monsters. And then I'm just playing the normal back row that you always see me play, Floodgate and Trap Hole and Wall of Disruption, just because the computer can't play those at the same time. And then I just had extra space in here. I played Defense Draw just so that the deck has some draw power. Now I did play, I was playing Miracle Fertilizer. I had that in there. The computer didn't always play it. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But basically it's a continuous spell. You can target one plant type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And you can't normal summon set during the turn you special summon with this effect. And if a monster special summoned by this effect leaves the field, destroy this card. I think it was nice. It works well when I would play a duel and I was, running the game. It would work just fine. But the computer sometimes would just hang on to it in its hand, even though it's like just summon it out and you can get a monster out and you can go into a Synchro or an XYZ. It's just like, nope, I'm not playing Miracle Fertilizer. I also put Power of the Guardians in here just once, just to see what would happen. And it does what it does. So if you have Power of the Guardians, you can throw that in there. I tried doing some the Blessed Winds to see if the computer would use the effect of send one plant type monster from your hand or face up for the field to the graveyard to gain 500, or target one plant type monster in your graveyard and shuffle it into the deck to gain 500. It just wouldn't play it. It would just set it and then just never play it throughout the duel, even though it could. Like every turn, just keep recycling the stuff that's in the graveyard. It just would never play it. So I took that out. And I think I was looking at there was nothing really good with plants for spells and traps that the computer would use correctly. So that's why I didn't go too big on that. So Black Rose Dragons isn't here, not because we want to blow up the field, but because its secondary effect is you can banish one plant type monster from your graveyard, then target one defense position monster your opponent controls. Change that target to face up position, and if you do, its attack becomes 0 to the end of this turn. And the computer actually knows to do that, and it does it right. I'm so surprised. Bryo's in here just because we can do like, Rose Whip into Psychic Tracker is a pretty popular play, so we can go into Bryo. For game, we can go into Interior Barkion, which can negate traps, and it's great because it becomes one of the big beat stakes at 3100 attack if Psychic Tracker is used because it gets that bonus attack. And then Tomato King, you see a lot. It can boost up to 3200. The Nightmare Shark's in there. I don't really ever see it use it, but I put it in there just in case. I got Malevolent Sin in here because sometimes you can get the 2 Careweight Champions on the board, so it can go into Malevolent Sin. And then I got the Alucard in there just because it can flip up, it can target one set card your opponent controls and destroy that target. So, and it does do that sometimes going for game, usually against monsters. So, again, I'm not using any skill right here, no skill set, because when I do all dueling decks, I want to make sure that, you can put it on any character. So we'll do a couple games here, and we'll see how it does. I did like 60 duels with this before doing this video, and it won all of them except one where the computer just played really crazy, where it summoned out the Tomato King and then brought the carrot weight champion out by sending off the Tomato King to gain the 300 attack. And it's one of those games where like the opponent has two cards left and the computer had one card left, and I think it ended up like in a deck out kind of thing, just because both sides were just making terrible, terrible plays. And this might be one of those games. We'll see here what the computer does. No, it's going to go into the Bryonic and go for game. There, finally. Whew. I was worried. I thought we were going to see another one of those games, but they are pretty funny to watch, aren't they? All right, so we'll do a couple more. Now, I did try this deck on in the TDGP, and to be honest, I did some try hard back row. I put in like Book of Moon, I put in Treacherous Trap Hole, I put in Cosmic Cyclone, and it did okay. Let's say I played 10 games, it won like 4 or 5. It wasn't a great win rate, and it mainly because there's lots of Thunder Dragons, lots of Blackwings, and a deck like this needs at least a turn or two to get going, and they don't. Thunder Dragons can just like stomp you, right? So I did get a couple replays where I did get some wins, but it's usually you gain some advantage real quick on turn one, or your opponent doesn't do well on their first turn. So it's not like this deck is like, I'm not going to put in the thumbnail 83% win rate or whatever. This is just, it's an auto dueling deck, and I was able to steal a few wins on the ladder. So, or not in the ladder, in the event. The event's nice because you can, you got that cycle or whatever, you can draw an extra card or destroy an opponent's monster. Yeah, when you have to do things like that to make your deck work, it's probably not a good deck, but and that's the case here. This is a great auto dueling deck. It's just not like a great PvP deck. But you can see here the computer knows what to do, and it does it well. I like it. And so it's a nice little deck. You can get it fairly inexpensively. If you don't have anything, I wouldn't chase after it like the carrot weight champions or whatever. But actually, that's in the new box. So if you went into the new box to get MST, I think that's in there, right? It's a reprint. But yeah, it's not a bad deck. I'd say check it out. I'll tack on the extra replays I did in the event on here. Again, I'm not saying it's a good deck. It was just me trying to cheese out some wins, which I definitely did. So we'll do one more as I do the outro. So make sure to get in our Discord. It's free. The tournaments are free. The new player help is free. And make sure to subscribe if you like the content, because like half the people that watch these videos aren't even subscribed. So we'd really love it if you do that. So if you like these kind of videos, let me know in the comments below and tell me what kind of stuff you like to do when you're making auto dueling decks. Do you experiment? I like to experiment because there's so many cards in the game and you really don't get to use all of them, right? Because usually you're too busy worried about playing a deck that can win on the ladder. Sometimes it's just fun to make decks that maybe aren't competitive but can win against the computer. So let me know. I'm Circus. I'm getting out of here, and I'll see you next time.